Here's how I made my client over $70,000 in profit within 6 months using a bad YouTube strategy. And this is some proof. So it says right here, $90,000 in profit. Obviously not all that profit came just through my strategy. It also came through some of my clients' leads, but you can tell that there's 160 calls, 246 leads, 20 sales, 19 customers. Also, if you look at Instagram and TikTok, since YouTube also does directly go into those platforms, we made $31,000 from Instagram, and then from TikTok, we made just under $4,000. So how is this all possible if my YouTube strategy is bad? It's usually not because of the scripts that you write or any sort of fancy graphics that you add in within your videos. It's all the other things that are really important with YouTube strategy that I did for my client that made him that $70,000. And guys, stick to the end because I'm going to be showing you pretty much everything when it comes to building a YouTube channel from scratch. So some of those things that we're going to be talking about is like how to structure your first videos. And what this involves is like how do you do the research, how you script the video, the thumbnails, titles, and then how to add call to actions to get your videos to convert. And before I show you all these steps here, I just want to show you how businesses are correctly growing on YouTube. All right, so first channel, Jeremy Haynes. His videos don't get that many views. He's on average getting about 5,000 views per video, and his thumbnails aren't really optimized that great, if I'm being honest. This is the guy that uses a little bit more edits because his team is actually pretty good when it comes to just like adding different animations, different graphics, all that. And where he really stands out is that he's just giving all the information for free from the top of his head because he just has so much experience. All right, so next channel, Mark Builds Brands. This is a guy that uses a lot more of like a raw type of style. This is a screen share style that is really blowing up within YouTube. And actually, I'm using the same exact strategy right now within this video. And just like Jeremy, he just has a ton of experience in the e-commerce space. And he's able to really tell good stories to his audience in a very relatable way because you have to understand, most marketers, they're just, behind their computer screen. They're probably working in the dark. And that's like the avatar that he's trying to display to his viewers. I'd say the biggest difference between him and Jeremy is that Jeremy is going to attract like an older person that has a little bit more money versus Mark Builds Brands is going to attract a person that is between the ages of like 17 to 25, a person that is a little bit younger and has a little bit less experience in life based on the topics that he's covering. One thing that I see with Mark Builds Brands over Jeremy Haynes is that he actually does use outlier score theory. So he's using titles and formats that work well within other niches. He copies them and then they usually perform very well. Like I can guarantee you, if I were to search up this title right now into YouTube, I'd find some sort of video that's kind of similar to it. Same thing with this title. I can guarantee you if we were to search it up, we'd find something similar. Next guy I want to show you is Cole Gordon. And Cole Gordon within his podcast has mentioned that once he started going a little bit more unscripted and less polished, that's when his videos started to really pop off, but not in a way where they're popping off where they're getting hundreds and thousands of views. He's really more so attracting the right audience. So when he speaks his mind and he's a little bit more free flowing, that's when he's able to attract his right target audience, which is people that are making probably over $100,000 a month, maybe between $50,000 or $100,000 a month, and attracting those people over to either his courses or his group mentorships. This guy's a little bit more similar to Jeremy Haynes with like the style that he's doing, but he's more so focusing on podcasts. And the point that I'm really trying to make is that authentic content is just really winning right now within 2026 because everyone's kind of sick of the Iman Gadzhi style videos. People that are a little bit more serious about business or really trying to improve their lives are trying to educate themselves. And by educating themselves, the best way that they can do that is through longer form videos that don't have too many fancy graphics and just are a little bit more so in a style of like a podcast. So just to kind of clarify things, authentic content is usually on the longer side. I'd say about like, let's say an hour or maybe even like 30 minutes. It's going to have less edits. One other thing that you'll see with a lot of these channels is that they're going to be using a lot of testimonials. So these could be either from students or they can be like screenshots. And you're going to notice that a lot of these screenshots look messy because the more messy they look, the more believable they are. And by messy, I just mean like just taking your iPhone and just pressing the screenshot button and then sending it over to someone. And you're going to be noticing that a lot of these creators are just going to be creating longer videos. Now, let's go over these steps here. First step, how do we research content? The first step is going to the YouTube search and searching up a niche that is similar to yours. Let's take the Facebook ads niche. A similar niche to Facebook ads could be dropshipping. So let's just search up dropshipping. Now that we have all the results here, let's just go down and find a video that has a high outlier score. So 4 months ago, 669,000 views, and it has a 15x outlier score according to 1 of 10. You're going to notice that he has 276,000 subscribers and he has 669,000 views. So that's a pretty good ratio. The other thing we want to check to see if like he bought those viewers. So In this case, it looks like he actually got these viewers for real. Like they don't look like they're bot. And then also checking to see if the comments are real and they're not bot as well. So everything checks out here. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I like to go into the creator's channel and then find any sort of formats that could also be replicated. One thing that I'm noticing with this guy is that he's not really posting that frequently. So a lot of his videos are from like 3 years ago, 1 year ago. And then this video here that we looked at is from 4 months. And then his most recent videos, like this one got 11,000 views. This one got 32,000 views. So just kind of like comparing this video to the others, this is a very clear outlier because it just outperforms any of his other older videos. So now that we validated that this video is an actual good outlier, let's just take this video, copy it, and then paste it into our spreadsheet. Huge recommendation for anyone that is trying to do research, just have a massive list of different videos from different niches with high outlier scores within one single sheet. That way you can kind of go back to all of them and see what works, what doesn't. It also just gives you a place to just store all of your ideas. And guys, I can understand that this whole process might be overwhelming to you. So if you want someone else to do this for you, like my team, then book a one-on-one call with me below. Now let's go into the sidebar and find videos that are similar to this niche and have also high outlier scores. And you're going to notice that a lot of these videos are similar to the dropshipping niche because what the algorithm does is it just tries to find you videos similar to the one that you just clicked on. In this case, let's find a video that could also be a good outlier. Cool, so now that we're in the video, now we can do the same sort of validation tests of just looking at the views, how many views does he have, check to see if the views are actually valid. Same thing with the comments, making sure that they're not bots. And then going to the channel and seeing how well this video performs compared to all the other videos that he released. And now let's just scroll down 3 months to see where that video is located. This is the video here. So 170,000 views, 3 months. And then let's take a look at his other videos. So 8,000, 16,000, 3,000, 9,000. So this tells me that this video is also a good idea. So we're going to just put it down within our sheet and just add it as like a notable format that could work for us. And to just show you what the research process looks like just in a very simple format, that's what it looks like. It's just going to the search, searching up a topic, finding a video that works, and then going to the suggested bar and then repeating that step 20 times because you want to collect as many videos as possible. That way you can find a bunch of ideas and then eliminate the ones that you don't want to do. Next step is the script writing process. And this is one of the steps that I think most people just overthink too much. Once we figure out the topic, the next step is going to be doing like a brainstorm session. And what the brainstorm session looks like is it's just getting on a Zoom call with the client and then just having him dump any sort of ideas that he has. What I like to get from my clients is just stories, tips, specific numbers that he wants to mention within the video, and just overall his expertise, because you have to understand that when you're a strategist on YouTube, you don't understand the subject the way that your client does. He's going to have all the experiences. He's going to understand how to do all the steps, not you. And this here is pretty much the whole script. That's how you're going to be writing it. And the biggest thing as a strategist that you can do is to just guide the client in the right direction. And for the rest of the script, the only areas that I do word for word is the hook, the setups, the payoffs, the conclusion, and then the call to action. But the rest of the content itself, it's up to the client because he has the stories and he has the expertise. Now, let me just show you what an example script looks like. That way you just have a very clear visual as to like how I do this for my clients. So this is my client script here. The way that I structure it is I have the title in place, I have the word for word hook, and then in between, this is where the body of the whole script is located. So we just have a setup, which is basically like the intro for the first point, and then we have a payoff, which is the conclusion to the first point, and then in between is just any sort of bullet points that the client should mention, and I just help him ideate with that. A lot of this comes through the brainstorming that you did earlier in the call. And then same thing applies for all these tips. And then the last thing that you create within the script is the conclusion, which just drives people over to the next video. And as you can tell, it's not a very complex script. I just really leave it to the client because if I make it very structured and I make it word for word, the client's going to read the script and it's going to be very obvious that someone scripted it. Now let's move on to the thumbnails and titles. You can do this in two ways. So you can come up with the title and thumbnail first and then write the script, or come up with the script first and then write the title and thumbnail. The order doesn't really matter too much. In my personal opinion, I like doing the thumbnails and titles first before I write the script, but some people like to change it later on because they're just going to have a little bit more ideas. With titles, the biggest thing that you're going to focus on is just having your titles be around 56 characters, no longer, because you want to have the title fit within your screen and not cut off. The best tool that you can use for this is called thumbsup.tv. And what this app does is it just shows you like what it looks like on a desktop screen, on a mobile screen, and then on a TV screen. This is what the app looks like. So you would just drop your thumbnail here. All you have to do is just like look down here and see if it just fits. But I would just recommend keeping it around 56 characters, or you can just do it visually here on this thumbsup.tv app. Once you find a title that works well, the next step is going to be how do you design the thumbnail? Now, I just want to go over like some best practices that you can use for thumbnails. That way you could just clearly communicate that over to your thumbnail designer. First thing that I recommend you figure out is what kind of colors are you going to use for your thumbnails. So this is going to be really dependent on your niche. If you're covering the YouTube niche as an example, you're going to be using red, white, and black colors. For the medical niche, you're going to be focusing on the blue and white colors. And then like, let's say you're doing LinkedIn growth, you're going to be using blue and white. The reason why we do these colors is because we're trying to easily communicate to our target audience what our video is about. And by using the specific brand colors for like, let's say YouTube being red and white, people are automatically going to know that red and white symbolizes video creation, content creation, whatever that is. And once you figure out what your color scheme is, what your branding is, it's really important to keep the colors consistent. Because if you don't, your feed is going to start looking confusing, and then your whole feed is going to have different types of thumbnails with different colors, different designs, and it's going to look unattractive to anyone that is trying to go over to your homepage and see what your channel is about. The next thing that I recommend is usually having only 3 elements in place within your thumbnail. Anything over that is going to look too busy. Let's take this thumbnail here. You can tell that there's only 3 elements because there's a laptop, there's a face, and then a 2K per video. And it's really easy to look at. This Mr. Beast thumbnail is also very similar. It has 3 elements only. It has the face to the left, the house in the middle, and then the people inside the building. One tactic that I use with a lot of my thumbnail designs is following the rule of 3. Let's pretend that this is a thumbnail here. This is more so of like a psychological thing that you see, but to keep things very organized, you want to have elements in these 3 blocks. And to just show you visually what that looks like, let me just pull up a thumbnail. This thumbnail follows the rule of 3s because there's a face in the middle, there's a sports stadium to the right, and then there's a living room. And you'll notice that none of the elements just intersect with each other. Going back to this thumbnail, the laptop is on the right side, the text is in the middle, and then the face is to the left. And you're going to notice a lot of thumbnails within the podcast space have this format because they usually have a face to the right, a face to the left, and then text in the middle because it's just easier to look at. The biggest thing I tell my thumbnail designers is I try to keep the background as natural as possible. So if we're doing an Airbnb thumbnail as an example, and usually the background is going to have some sort of visual of the living room, the studio, or something that just looks like it's actually in real life. Because within the business niche, a lot of people are going to be skeptical. And if the thumbnail looks fake and it doesn't look authentic and it has a lot of clickbaity types of colors and formats within the thumbnail, people are not going to want to click on it because they're going to think that the video is some sort of scam. Next up is the call to action. And this is where a lot of the money is going to be made. There's 2 types of call to actions that you can create within your video. The first call to action is a lead magnet. And then the second sort of call to action is like a book a call or visit my website. If we were to take a YouTube video, I would usually put the lead magnet around 30% into the YouTube video. And then the book a call usually 90% into the video. And then towards the end, that's when you drive people over to the next video. The purpose of the lead magnet is to just drive as much value as possible to the viewer. So like, let's say you're doing a real estate video. With a real estate video, you can give them a calculator, you can give them a spreadsheet, a document, something that is going to be very useful to them. The only thing in the call to action that needs to be set is if you want to learn more about XYZ, then click the link below. And keep the lead magnet really simple. I'd say just keep it around like 5 to 10 seconds because the longer you make it, the more retention drops off. The call to action at the end is going to be around like 20 to 30 seconds and just give them a little bit more information about your product and then just tell them to click the link below. Now that we did the research, the scripting, the thumbnails, the titles, and the call to action, that's it. That's all we really need to do from a strategy side. Now I want to show you some formats that really work well within YouTube because these formats is what ultimately helped me reach $76,000 for one of my clients. On my LinkedIn, I recently did a post going over all the different formats that most business channels are using that are really helping them drive more leads. And these are just like some thumbnails and title examples from different channels that you guys can check out whenever you have the free time. But in my opinion, the best format that you guys can use is the free course format. I really like the free course format because it's really easy to make. When you search up free course on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of videos that are between 1 hour and sometimes even 10 hours long. They're also really good formats to add in call to actions because you can add like 6 call to actions within like, let's say a 7 or 5 hour video. One other thing that you can do with free course videos is that you can repurpose a lot of your current courses that you have that you might be releasing for free on School or on WAP, and then just take all those courses and then turn it into one video. And to really have this video perform, you just really need a good title and thumbnail for this. But honestly, they're just really easy to create. But before you do this free course strategy, because sometimes it could take a long time to just collect all the material, make sure that the free course format hasn't been done already within your niche. And if it has, just make sure that you watch one of your competitors' videos and then just make it even better. That's how you're going to stand out. I made a free course video for one of my clients in the medical device niche, and it got 1,000 views, which is an outlier for his channel because he usually gets around like 200 or 300 views. But this video is almost 3 hours long, and it helped us get 4 qualified leads that ended up closing. Next up is the free event recording. With this one, it's really easy because all you have to do is just take a mastermind recording and then repurpose it into a YouTube video. I'd make these about like 30 minutes to maybe around like 2 hours long. And then this is another opportunity to just put in a bunch of call to actions in the middle. With the call to actions, I'd usually put the first one around like, let's say the 5-minute mark. The next one, I'd maybe put like somewhere in the middle. And then the last one would be like 90% into the video. What's great about free events is that it just shows you interacting with your students, solving problems, answering questions, and it's just a really interactive style that just builds up trust with your viewers. Next is the speedrunning video. Speedrunning is kind of like a free course format where you just give all the information for free. The only difference is that you're just really sharing your screen and just showing like the whole process without any sort of cuts. It's usually not scripted. It's meant to be really long, and it just shows you just in your office just working. One format that I've seen on YouTube that gets replicated by a lot of other creators is them closing a deal or writing a full YouTube script, or like, let's say setting up a drop shipping shop. And then they just show everything. In here, you can also add in call to actions, but the main purpose of this is to just build up tons of trust. Next format is the testimonial video. This one's really easy to make because all it requires is just inviting one of your clients or one of your students over to a studio or one of your Zoom recordings, and then just interviewing them like in a podcast style. When you're doing this interview, the main thing that you're trying to get out of them is any sort of wins that they've had in your program. Another big thing that you can do is just get them to tell stories. This video is probably going to be one of your lower performers because most people don't want to watch student testimonials. Only the people that are really bought into your program are going to watch it to just really just get like a idea to see if your course or product or whatever you're selling actually works. So I would also add in a call to action around the 30% mark and then towards the end of the video, which is around 90%. Next video format is the handling objections video. With this, you just take all of your sales recordings, put it into Claude, and then ask it, give me the top 10 objections that I get on sales calls. It's going to give you the 10 objections, and then all you have to do is just take those 10 objections, put it into a YouTube script. Then in the YouTube video, just answer all those questions that come up. That way it just turns into a full piece of content. And here's a visual of what it looks like. So you have the intro, you have the call to action, then a call to action at the end, next video. But in between here, you have the first objection, second objection, third objection, fourth, fifth, sixth. When you're editing this video, you would just have the question pop up on screen. And then your goal is to just convince people that that objection is wrong. Obviously, say it respectfully and just kind of do it like in a professional format. But once you finish this video, I can promise you that this is probably one of the best sales assets that you can send to your prospects, because anytime something comes up or if they have any sort of questions about the program, send them this video and I can promise you that there's going to be a much higher likelihood that they're going to be a deal that you're going to close. Next is the live demonstration video. The live demonstration is very similar to the student testimonial because you end up bringing in one of your clients and then you just break down how they're currently running their business. And all you have to do is just guide them in the right direction and tell them how they can make, like, let's say $100,000 a month, $1 million a month, or whatever your expertise allows them to make. This is more so of like an interactive style. So you would have to actually bring your laptop. You would have to have some sort of writing sheet. You'd be in a podcast studio for this. But this, I can guarantee you, is going to convert you leads. Some channels that I recommend you guys check out for this is like Alex Hormozi. He's the one who invented this whole video strategy. And then also Jeremy Haynes. As of recent, he's only been doing videos with live demonstrations. And if you guys want to see like how these videos are structured, just take a screenshot of this section and search up all these titles. And I've been applying this format for all of my clients, including my medical device sales client, where we do the event recording here. As you can tell, he's just sitting in the room and just answering people's questions and then giving a speech. This is his free course. These are student testimonials. So this one is just on Zoom. He also does a lot of his student testimonial videos in person. And with these formats, that's how I was able to generate my client over $76,000 in profit. If you take all the strategies that I just gave you, I can promise you that you're going to get leads. And if you would prefer someone else do this strategy for you, then click the link below and book a one-on-one call with me. And if you want a more in-depth strategy on how to create a YouTube video in 2026, then watch this video right here.